Commercial Vehicle Operators Safety Manual, Module 5, Ontario Specific Enforcement Issues. Overview, Ontario Specific Enforcement Issues, Learning Objectives, Commercial Vehicle Impoundment Program, Introduction, Commercial Vehicle Impoundment, Vehicles that can be impounded, What is a critical defect, Locations for critical defect inspections and impoundment, CVIP effect on buses, consequences of vehicles impounded under CVIP, cost of impoundment, impound facilities, what happens to the load, appeal process, effect on your CVOR record, mandatory truck speed limiters, trucks that require speed limiters, legislation, enforcement, benefits. Overview. The Commercial Safety and Compliance Branch of the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario has prepared this guide to assist and ensure that truck and bus companies, commercial vehicle operators, operate safely and are compliant with the regulations that govern highway use. Ontario, other provinces, the Government of Canada, and the transportation industry developed the rules and regulations to help reduce the number and severity of collisions. Each jurisdiction has used the National Safety Code standards as guidelines in drafting their own transportation safety legislation. This approach promotes uniformity across Canada and helps to ensure that the transportation industry remains as viable and sustainable as possible. This guide applies to Ontario operators of commercial motor vehicles that are trucks, tractors, mobile equipment vehicles, or trailers and/or any combination of these vehicles that have a registered gross weight or actual weight of more than 4,500 kilograms. Tow trucks, regardless of registered gross weight or actual weight. Buses with a manufactured seating capacity of 10 persons or more, excluding the driver. Accessible vehicles and school purposes vehicles, depending upon use. This guide contains several modules, each dealing with a specific topic. To get a complete picture of compliance requirements, you should obtain the complete guide. If you intend to use certain parts of this guide only, for example, Module 1, Getting Started, it is recommended that you also obtain the modules Introduction and Commercial Vehicle Operators Registration. This is a guide only and is not meant to be a substitute for the relevant statutes and regulations. This guide highlights some important legal provisions, but is not an exhaustive description of all the laws that apply. Ontario-specific enforcement issues, learning objectives. As you work through this module, you will develop an understanding of the commercial vehicle impoundment process, violations that can result in a vehicle being impounded and the effects of having a vehicle impounded under the program, who has the authority to impound your vehicle, speed limiter requirements, which vehicles require a speed limiter and the benefits to your business by reducing the speed of large trucks. Commercial Vehicle Impoundment Program. Introduction. On February 2nd, 1998, the Government of Ontario introduced the Commercial Vehicle Impoundment Program, CVIP, as part of its aggressive campaign to improve commercial vehicle safety in this province. This program was a principal recommendation of Target 97, a joint industry/government task force that has worked together closely to improve truck safety in Ontario. Commercial vehicle impoundment. Commercial vehicle impoundment is part of a progressive enforcement program where critically defective commercial vehicles are impounded for a minimum of 15 days. Ontario is the first jurisdiction in North America to impound commercial vehicles for critical defects. If one or more critical defects are found on a bus, truck, or trailer, an officer will remove the plates and inspection stickers from the specific vehicle unit. Vehicles will not be impounded for defects found that meet the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance (CVSA) out of service criteria. A vehicle found with a critical defect would be in far worse condition than a vehicle that just meets the out of service criteria. If a vehicle is found to have critical defects, the Deputy Registrar of Motor Vehicles issues an order to impound the vehicle and suspend the vehicle registration. The vehicle's load will be removed at the inspection location, and the vehicle will be transported by a third-party contractor to a secure impound facility. The vehicle must remain at the impound facility for the designated period. After this period, the owner may claim the vehicle after all costs associated with the towing, removal, and impoundment have been paid. The vehicle must then obtain a safety standards certificate certifying it as safe before it can be operated in Ontario. Safety standards certificates can only be issued by a licensed motor vehicle inspection station after the vehicle is released from the impound facility. Commercial vehicles that are abandoned at impound facilities will be disposed of under the provisions of the Repair and Storage Liens Act. Vehicles that can be impounded. Any commercial motor vehicle that is operated by a Commercial Vehicle Operators Registration (CVOR) or National Safety Code (NSC) holder, or one that would require CVOR or NSC registration and has a gross weight or registered gross weight exceeding 4,500 kilograms, may be subject to impound if it is operated with critical defects. This includes buses, trucks, and trailers drawn by these vehicles. This also includes all tow trucks, regardless of weight. Exemptions: ambulances, fire vehicles, hearses, casket wagons, and motorhomes are not affected by this legislation. What is a critical defect? The critical defect criteria set out clear guidelines for determining when defects are serious enough to be considered critical to the safe operation of a commercial vehicle or trailer. These criteria have been developed for brakes, wheels and rims, steering, tires, and suspension/frame components. Commercial vehicles are in a significantly greater state of disrepair when impounded for critical defects than when they are taken out of service for failing to meet international standards set by the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance (CVSA). For example, a vehicle is placed out of service if 20% or more of its wheels have brake defects. However, this defect would be considered critical if more than 50% of its wheels have brake defects. The critical defect criteria, which were developed by government and industry, are detailed in Regulation 512/97 of the Highway Traffic Act. Copies of the regulations are available on the e-laws website. Locations for critical defect inspections and impoundment. Inspections for critical defects and impoundment are carried out at specified truck inspection stations across the province. These stations are selected for their strategic location and their exposure to high volumes of commercial traffic. CVIP effect on buses. Buses, including school buses and motor coaches, are commercial vehicles and are subject to impoundment. CVIP effect on tow trucks. Tow trucks are commercial vehicles and are subject to impoundment. Consequences of vehicles impounded under CVIP. After the vehicle is inspected and found to have critical defects, charges are laid against the owner and or operator and or driver. The vehicle is then impounded for a prescribed period. Before the impounded vehicle is removed from the inspection site, it must be offloaded, repaired, and put in a safe condition for towing. Vehicles that cannot be made safe for towing must be placed on a flatbed trailer and transported to the impound facility. The impoundment period is 15 days for the first incident within a 2-year period. A second incident within 2 years will result in a 30-day impoundment. A third or subsequent incident within 2 years carries a 60-day impoundment. The operator will be charged with operating an unsafe vehicle and is responsible for all costs associated with the removal, transfer, and storage of the load. The owner is also liable for the fees and costs associated with towing and impoundment and cannot use the vehicle for doing business during the impoundment period. The driver may also be subject to charges. Fines for safety related offenses are set out in the Provincial Offences Act and may be as high as $20,000. When the impound period is complete, the vehicle is released by the deputy registrar and must be towed or floated to a qualified repair facility. The vehicle cannot be driven on any Ontario highway until it has been inspected and a safety standards certificate has been issued. Only then will plates and permits be reissued for the vehicle. Cost of impoundment. The fees charged for towing, floating, storage of vehicles and goods, and the transfer of loads are established in contracts between MTO and impound facilities. Although a reasonable fee schedule has been established, they may be higher where towing distances are longer or in urban areas where commercial property costs may be higher. This is a user pay system whereby the impound facility is paid directly by the owner operator responsible for the vehicle and the load. Impound facilities. Impound facilities are located within a reasonable towing distance of the inspection location that they serve. One impound facility may provide service to more than one inspection location if the facility is in close proximity to multiple inspection sites. The selection of impound facilities is based upon their availability to provide secure, reliable service at a reasonable cost. What happens to the load? All impounded vehicles must be offloaded at the inspection site. The load must then be transferred to another vehicle. This transfer of loads and loss of perishable cargo is the responsibility of the operator of the vehicle. Where buses are impounded, the operator is responsible for providing alternate transportation to the passengers. Appeal process. The owner of the vehicle is the only party who can appeal the impoundment. An appeal may be made to the License Appeal Tribunal on one of two grounds. One, if the vehicle was stolen. Two, if the critical defect was not present at the time of daily inspection. During the appeal, the owner may During the appeal, the owner may apply to the Superior Court of Justice to have the vehicle released from the impound facility after all fees and towing charges have been paid and security has been posted. The Superior Court of Justice will set security of between $5,000 and $10,000. If the appeal process is successful, the owner will be reimbursed by the Crown for the cost of towing and impound fees. If the order to impound and suspend is not overturned, the owner must return the vehicle to the impound facility for the remainder of the period or forfeit the posted security. Appeals will be conducted orally unless a written hearing is requested and agreed upon. Hearings will be heard as quickly as possible and decided on within 30 days where required. Appeals may be heard in numerous locations across Ontario. Effect on your CVOR record. The impoundment will be recorded on the operator's CVOR record and applicable points will be assigned. For further information, contact Ministry of Transportation, Commercial Safety and Compliance Branch, Commercial Vehicle Impoundment Program, 301 St. Paul Street, 3rd floor, St. Catharines, Ontario. Mandatory truck speed limiters. A speed limiter is an electronic device that is installed in heavy trucks and caps the speed at a maximum of 105 kilometers per hour. Most large trucks driven in Ontario are required to use speed limiters. Studies conducted by the federal government through Transport Canada have demonstrated the environmental, safety, and cost saving benefits of speed limiters. Ontario and Quebec worked together to jointly launch and implement speed limiter regulations. Trucks that require speed limiters. If a commercial motor vehicle was built after December 31st, 1994, with a manufacturer's gross vehicle weight rating of 11,794 kilograms or more and is equipped with an electronic control module, then the vehicle is subject to being speed limited. Exemptions to these apply only to a limited number of vehicle types, such as ambulances or fire trucks. Legislation. Ontario passed legislation and supporting regulations to mandate the use of speed limiters on commercial vehicles in 2008. Links to the legislation and regulations can be found below. Legislation, regulation. Enforcement. Police and MTO enforcement officers use both existing traffic control techniques and portable electronic testing units to verify the activation of a speed limiter at a maximum of 105 kilometers per hour. The use of portable electronic testing units provides access to the vehicle engine data and confirms if the limiter has been activated at a speed of 105 kilometers per hour or less. It is necessary for officers to plug into a data port located within the cab of the truck. Failure to assist with or allow the inspection will result in charges. Benefits. Reducing the speed of a vehicle will result in lower fuel consumption that helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions and saves money on fuel purchases. Drivers expose themselves to a number of dangers by exceeding speed limits. Driving at higher speeds induces stress that results in fatigue and loss of concentration. Speeding makes it more difficult to react to changes, stop suddenly, and control the vehicle. And in case of a collision, the higher the speed, the more severe the collision. Setting speed limiters at 105 kilometers per hour or less will reduce the operating costs of many transportation companies by reducing fuel consumption and increasing vehicle energy efficiency. Commercial Vehicle Operators Safety Manual, Module 6, Facility Audit and Operator Monitoring and Intervention. Overview. Operator monitoring, intervention, and facility audit learning objectives, facility audit program profiles, facility audits and carrier safety ratings, how to prepare for a facility audit procedure, documents that an operator must provide to an auditor, audit results, conducting a self audit, a step by step process, vehicle maintenance profile, qualification, records and reporting, QR&R profile, hours of service profile, facility audit sample size guideline, intervention and consequences of compliance, monitoring, CVOR monitoring, progressive intervention appeals, Appendix A, sample calculation qualifications, records and reporting, and hours of service profiles. Overview. The Commercial Safety and Compliance Branch of the Ministry of Transportation of Ontario has prepared this guide to assist and ensure that truck and bus companies, commercial vehicle operators, operate safely and are compliant with the regulations that govern highway use. Ontario, other provinces, the Government of Canada, and the transportation industry developed the rules and regulations to help reduce the number and severity of collisions. Each jurisdiction has used the National Safety Code standards as guides in drafting their own transportation safety legislation. This approach promotes uniformity across Canada and helps to ensure that the transportation industry remains as viable and sustainable as possible. This guide applies to Ontario operators of commercial motor vehicles that are trucks, tractors, mobile equipment vehicles, or trailers and/or any combination of these vehicles that have a registered gross weight or actual weight of more than 4,500 kilograms. Tow trucks, regardless of registered gross weight or actual weight. Buses with a manufactured seating capacity of 10 persons or more, excluding the driver. Accessible vehicles and school purposes vehicles depending upon use. This guide contains several modules, each dealing with a specific topic. To get a complete picture of compliance requirements, you should obtain the complete guide. If you intend to use certain parts of this guide only, for example, Module 1, Getting Started, it is recommended that you also obtain the modules Introduction and Commercial Vehicle Operators Registration. This is a guide only and is not meant to be a substitute for the relevant statutes and regulations. This guide highlights some important legal provisions, but is not an exhaustive description of all the laws that apply. Operator monitoring, intervention, and facility audit. Learning objectives. As you work through this module, you will be able to understand how an operator is selected for a facility audit, understand the three main elements of a facility audit, understand how a facility audit affects your carrier safety rating, prepare for a facility audit, describe procedures for carrying out a facility audit, describe the documents and records that an auditor will review, complete the step-by-step process of a self-audit, understand how operators are monitored by MTO, describe progressive discipline and how it can be used as a disciplinary tool, identify administrative penalties, understand the appeal process. Facility audit program. An operator can be subject to a facility audit at any time, and the Ministry of Transportation has the authority to audit an operator under the Highway Traffic Act. The Ontario facility audit is based on the Highway Traffic Act, which prescribes the requirements for commercial vehicle operators to maintain all driver and vehicle records within a defined time period and make them available to a facility auditor when requested. The current facility audit is a risk-based assessment of the elements known to cause or contribute to commercial motor vehicle collisions and to reduce that likelihood. The audit examines the operator's safety management controls that are in place to ensure drivers are: one, qualified to drive the operator's equipment; two, conducting the proper inspections of the operator's equipment and report deficiencies whenever they occur; three, compliant with the driving limitations and rest requirements of the hours of service regulations. Profiles. There are three main profiles. There are three main elements, profiles of a facility audit. One, vehicle maintenance. Records current for a period of 24 months or 6 months after the vehicle ceases to be operated. Two, hours of service. Records current for a period of 6 months. Driver qualification records and reporting. Records current for a period of 2 years or from the date the driver started with the operator, if less, or 6 months after the driver ceases to be employed. Profile. Vehicle maintenance, 100 points. Hours of service, 100 points. Qualification records and reporting, 100 points. Contents and weighting. Detection, reporting, and repair, 40, preventative maintenance 30, records 20, annual and semi-annual inspections 10, qualified margin of error 90, data items 10, qualified driver 60, driver abstracts 15, conviction records 15, operator collisions 10. Facility audits and carrier safety ratings. An operator must undergo a facility audit to become eligible for a satisfactory or excellent carrier safety rating. This rating is based on the operator's violation rate, audit compliance achieved, and profile compliance rate. Where an operator fails an audit with an audit compliance achieved of less than 55% or a score of less than 50% on any profile compliance rate, a rating of conditional may be proposed by the Deputy Registrar of Motor Vehicles. The overall audit score is expressed as pass if the overall audit score is 55% or greater and no profile is below 50%. Fail if the overall audit score is below 55% or any profile is below 50%. How to prepare for a facility audit. The facility audit is one of many methods the ministry uses to monitor a commercial vehicle operator's compliance with the requirements for record keeping, driver control, and vehicle maintenance to better achieve road safety. A facility audit is conducted for these reasons. When on-road events change an operator's overall violation rate exceeding the allowable threshold by 50%. If an operator has previously failed a facility audit within the past 5 years and has not passed an audit since that time. To verify that an operator is fulfilling commitments that were made to the deputy registrar. Operators may voluntarily request an audit to have their carrier safety rating evaluated. To review complaints made about the unsafe performance of an operator's driver, vehicle, or both. To, main, to maintain transparency in the audit process, the software used by the auditor is programmed to randomly select drivers. To meet the sample requirements of the vehicle maintenance profile, the auditor will first select vehicles from the operator's Commercial Vehicle Operators Registration (CVOR) record and select events to satisfy the sample size requirements. Vehicles will be randomly selected only when a search of the operator's CVOR record fails to meet the sample requirements. Audit procedure. A facility auditor may contact the operator to schedule an audit by phone or in writing. The purpose of the facility audit, as well as the documents that will be required, is clearly explained to the operator at that time. The auditor may also want to verify some details about the operator's business during the call. At the entrance interview, the auditor explains the purpose, procedure, scoring, and importance of the audit and its potential impact on the operator's carrier safety rating and carrier profile. The auditor will also ask the operator to explain and demonstrate with documentation the hours of service and vehicle maintenance monitoring and recall systems used to assess whether they are complying with the regulations. An operator will be asked to produce in writing a preventative maintenance schedule. The document will be reviewed and used by the auditor to determine if the operator's maintenance schedule is being followed. Documents that an operator must provide to an auditor. The documents and records that an auditor will review are discussed at the time the audit is scheduled and may include, but are not limited to, the following: a complete driver/vehicle list, current and 6 months ago, driver abstracts, collision reports, independent time markers from operator or MTO records, for example, toll receipts, roadside inspection reports, conviction records, and so on, payroll records, invoices, cell phone, fuel, bridge authority, commercial accounts, and so on, bills of lading, operators' invoice records, bridge tolls, accommodation/fuel receipts, operators' maintenance statements, maintenance files, power units and trailers, annual inspection certificates, semi-annual inspection certificates, driver logs and time records, daily inspection reports, dispatch records, computer-generated records, electronic onboard recording devices or GPS satellite tracking systems reports, if applicable, proof of insurance, or any supporting document that could be used to assess compliance. The audit will be completed in a timely manner, but its length will vary depending on a number of factors, such as the size of the operation, the availability of records, and the availability of the auditor and the operator's support personnel. Audit results. After the audit is completed, an exit interview takes place. The operator receives a summary of the audit with scores for each driver, vehicle, and, if applicable, collision files that were examined. The operator will be given ample opportunity to review and discuss with the auditor the results of the audit and any possible charges. Conducting a self-audit, a step-by-step process. Vehicle maintenance profile. This profile examines the operator's daily inspection and driver protocols, record keeping, and the retention of maintenance files. It is broken down into 4 distinct elements: detection, reporting, and repair, 40 points; preventative maintenance intervals, 30 points; records, 20 points; periodic mandatory commercial vehicle inspections, 10 points. Step 1. Calculating detection, reporting, and repair. Examine the event date indicated on the commercial vehicle inspection report. If an inspection is not available, use any event that places the vehicle on the highway during the past 6 months. 1. If the vehicle daily inspection reports, including schedules, are improper or missing, 10 points are deducted. 2. If inspection reports indicating vehicle defects, copies of roadside inspection reports, and report notices are not appropriately submitted by the driver, 10 points are deducted. 3. If the reported vehicle defects are not repaired before the next vehicle dispatch, 10 points are deducted. If the maintenance records do not contain the appropriate information required after the reporting of the defect, 10 points are deducted. The total number of points, maximum 40, will be referred to as A. Step 2. Calculating the preventative maintenance, PM intervals. To calculate the PM score, record the most current date of preventative maintenance and work back a total of 2 years. The vehicle will be scored when operator's maintenance interval, points removed; PM less than 90 days, when PM interval exceeds 90 days; PM more than 90 days, when PM interval is exceeded; based on mileage, when interval and 90 days are exceeded. If a vehicle is operated on a highway in contravention of any PM interval, the full 30 points will be deducted. The total number of points, maximum 30, will be referred to as B. Step 3. Annual and semi-annual inspections. Record the most current annual, or if applicable, the semi-annual inspection certificate to a maximum of 3. If a vehicle is operated on a highway within 24 months of the audit and in contravention to the annual and semi-annual inspection interval, 10 points will be deducted. The total number of points, maximum of 10, will be referred to as C. Step 4. Calculating the score for records. This element of the vehicle maintenance profile is composed of 4 units with a value of 5 points each. 1. The operator's PM program is in writing. 2. The records and reports for the vehicle are maintained at the appropriate location, principal place of business, or terminal. The records and reports have been maintained for 2 years or for 6 months after the vehicle ceases to operate. 4, the records and reports for the vehicle contain all applicable information such as dates, odometer readings of inspection and repair, and so on, as required by Highway Traffic Act Regulation 199/07, Section 7 and 16. Note, when scoring this unit, do not use the daily inspection that was used in Step 1 in detection, reporting, and repair. Any leased vehicles or vehicles in the operator's possession will receive a full score in Step 4 if the information in detection, reporting, and repair is compliant. The total number of points, maximum of 20 points, will be referred to as D. To calculate each vehicle score, add the scores from each of the above steps. A plus B plus C plus D equals a total of 100 potential points. To calculate the eligible points for all vehicles in this profile, add all eligible points from the above steps. The overall compliance achieved is expressed as a percentage of total points and eligible points. The compliance rate is expressed as points based on the percentage of compliance achieved. Sample calculation of vehicle maintenance profile. Qualification, records, and reporting. QR&R profile. This profile consists of several elements that are tailored to fit the specific operational scope of the operator. Driver qualifications, conviction reporting, and record retention are examined, and, if applicable, the reporting and resolution of collisions. Retention periods vary for each element and are explained below. Operators may be exempt from certain record-keeping requirements, such as being a driver owner. Points are blended to represent only those elements applicable to the operator. The profile elements and their represented weighting are as follows: qualified drivers, 60%; driver abstracts, 15%; conviction records, 15%; operator collisions, 10%. The driver/owners would not be expected to acquire and retain abstracts and records on themselves. In those cases, the 60% rating for qualified drivers is then expressed as 100%. Operators with no collisions on their records will automatically receive the 10% for operator collisions. Drivers selected for this profile will be used in the hours of service profile. See Appendix A, sample calculation of the QR&R and hours of service profiles for details. Hours of service profile definition. A quantified margin of error, QMOE, is the difference in hours between what a driver reports on his daily log and the time indicated on a supporting source document. All times are recorded to the quarter hour, 15 minutes. The margin of error can be calculated in the following manner. The time is number one, the time is in excess of driving limitations, 13, 14, and 16-hour rule. Number two, the time in excess of the cycle limitations, 70 and 120-hour rule. Number three, driver scored missing 24 hours for missing a daily log or time record. Number four, for a false daily log, time difference doubled when it exceeds 2 hours. Calculating the driver profile. To calculate a driver score, the following steps must be followed. Record all the on-duty time reported by the driver for a 1-month period. Call it X. Number two, examine each day of the month by comparing receipts for bridge tolls, fuel, accommodation, and meals, telephone, and GPS documents to the entries indicated on the driver's daily log. Number three, when more than one margin of error is detected in a day, only record the highest. Number four, total all margins of error for the month. Call it Y. When Y exceeds 10% of the X total, the driver has lost all of the 90 points available. The driver can lose 10 data points if the hours of service documents fail to record name, duty statuses, odometer readings, location, vehicle plate number, cycle, address, previous hours, date, and time total. For a sample calculation, refer to Appendix A, sample calculation of the QR&R and hours of service profile. Facility audit sample size. Number of drivers vehicle, 1, sample size 1. 2 to 5, all. 6 to 9, 6. 10 to 12, 8. So basically, the larger the fleet, the more vehicles and drivers to be audited. For more information on vehicle maintenance and hours of service requirements, refer to the Highway Traffic Act, Vehicle Maintenance O Regulation 199/07, Commercial Motor Vehicle Inspections, Hours of Service Requirements O Regulation 555/06, Hours of Service. For more information, contact Facility Audit Administrator, Carrier Sanctions and Investigations Office, Ministry of Transportation, 301 St. Paul Street, 3rd floor, St. Catharines, Ontario. Intervention and consequences of noncompliance. As a result of an audit, MTO may take any one or a combination of the following intervention options: no action, as the operator has demonstrated acceptable compliance; request a comprehensive action plan acceptable to MTO, which the operator must develop; impose conditions on the operator's CVOR certificate, requiring the operator to take specific actions by the specified dates; not issue various types of permits or certificates. Facility audit information is quantified and becomes an integral part of determining an operator's carrier safety rating. Therefore, it is essential that an operator demonstrate a high level of compliance to maintain an acceptable safety rating. Failure to do so may lead to an operator being restricted or prevented from operating commercial vehicles in the province of Ontario. Monitoring. Operators are expected to achieve and maintain a high level of safety compliance by adopting effective safety management practices. In spite of the benefits of operating safely, some operators persist in a pattern of noncompliance with safety-related regulations. The ministry takes a progressive approach in dealing with them in the hope of changing their behavior. Operators are routinely monitored for safety compliance. Duties of the ministry's enforcement staff include patrolling the highways to detect violations and contribute to the safe movement of goods and people, conducting facility audits and investigating serious safety issues, conducting dangerous goods inspections. CVOR monitoring. Operators based in Ontario, as well as US-based operators that operate in Ontario, must obtain a CVOR certificate from the ministry. This registration permits the ministry to gather all information relating to their operations in Ontario. Information is sent to the ministry from agencies across North America, where it is monitored and analyzed by ministry staff and provides the basis for establishing an operator's safety rating. The CVOR system tracks the on-road safety performance of each registrant operator. The goal of the CVOR system is to improve road safety for all users of Ontario highways by having an effective monitoring and intervention system for all carriers. Poor performance may result in the loss of privileges to operate commercial motor vehicles. All operators who are required to operate their vehicles under the authority of a CVOR certificate are monitored in the following areas: collisions, convictions, inspections, Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance inspection results. For more information on CVOR monitoring, violation rates, and carrier safety rating, see Module 4 of this manual. Progressive intervention. The purpose of ministry sanctions and intervention is to reduce the number and severity of collisions and reduce risk to the public. This program ensures that operators demonstrating noncompliance are approached in a consistent, fair, and objective manner, yet is flexible enough to allow for special circumstances. When contemplating an intervention action with an operator, the ministry considers predetermined stages established, information in the operator's profile, operator's monitoring stage, if any, audit information collected through an investigation or inspection, other appropriate information about significant incidents related to safety or compliance to safety laws, disciplinary letters sent regarding unacceptable performance, charges laid resulting from a facility audit, direction to the operator to arrange for a compliance audit, conditional carrier safety rating, suspension/cancellation of the operator's operating privileges, unsatisfactory carrier safety rating, fleet limitation, seizure of plates. When considering an intervention, the level of risk that the operator represents to the road safety will be considered. Operators representing the greatest risk to the road safety will be given the least amount of time to make adjustments to their practices. Operators that present an immediate risk to the public safety will be dealt with using any of the available tools considered appropriate at the time. Sanctions and interventions are progressive in nature and ensure that all operators are treated in a consistent and fair manner. They are used to modify an operator's behavior and obtain positive change. An operator might progress an operator might progress through some or all of these intervention actions until their activities are managed appropriately and safely. If an operator fails to properly manage their administrative and safety processes, they may be issued an unsatisfactory or conditional safety rating or ultimately lose their privileges and have their CVOR certificate canceled. This would mean that they could no longer operate commercial vehicles on any highways in Ontario. Appeals. If the operator believes a penalty imposed by the deputy registrar was not appropriate, then the operator has the option of initiating an appeal to the License Appeal Tribunal as per subsection 50 parentheses 1 of the Highway Traffic Act. The HTA allows the operator to file an appeal within 30 days of notification of a decision or an action that has been imposed on them by the deputy registrar. For a fee, for a fee, appeal hearing application forms can be obtained from the License Appeal Tribunal. For additional information, visit the License Appeal Tribunal website or call 416-314-4270. Appendix A, Sample Calculation, Qualification, Records and Reporting and Hours of Service Profile.